Got it. Miss Trade, Matt Davio, Bob Heffernan, HFR from the Matrix. It's a Tuesday. The show's Market Vitals. Matt, good morning to you.
Morning, Bob.
As it's still morning here in Booger Glob, Yugoslavia. Matt, let's talk about risk. Risk is real. Respect it. You may live in a van down by the river, still saying that that's not that bad of an idea. Trading stocks, bonds, ETFs, options. Well, you can read. You can lose all of your money if you're an asshole trading. That's just the facts. That's our risk disclosure. Nothing we say can and will not be used against us in a court of law because 78% of people know that trading is your own responsibility. Matt, a whole lot going on. It seems like the narratives are crescendoing. It seems like we have a crescendo. Matt, risk again. Stop with the risk already.
Fast and Furious.
I came across this, Matt. Let's get a little historical perspective. Mark Twain.
One of the great speculators of markets, by the way.
Was he really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I did not know that. Loved trading.
He loved trading. He was cotton, riverboat gambler for sure. Great trader. Great trader. He was really a good trader.
Well, he was a great trader because I guarantee you, from this quote, he didn't trust anything that he heard. He trusted price discovery somehow, some way.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. Never a truer statement than today, Matt. Yes. And then we had breaking news. Let's go to it. Breaking news. Our fearless leader, Joe Biden. Okay, gang, now let's see who's really behind the rampant inflation. It's Putin. Incredible. I mean, the clown world that we live in, where TikTok influencers are pushing propaganda. And honest to God, man, I don't know the exact law that they said that passed that made it legal for government to engage in propaganda, but I'm pretty sure that's where we should start if we, if there's some sort of midterm election that swings things. But maybe the people that are there don't care about the propaganda if they're in charge and they get to decide the propaganda.
Right.
But back to the reality of inflation, and it shows up in price discovery, no matter what the TikTokers want to tell you. Matt, you've been talking about this 152 level in the bond for probably a year now.
Yeah.
So bring it up. Let's talk prices.
Well, I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about the fact that the Putin, seriously, the Putin inflation is gone. And, Biden, let's be real here with prices. Here's where the war started, right? End of February. Here's where we are now. Guess what? The pumps are still, and my son filled up his car in San Diego yesterday. He was all pissing and moaning. I'm like, well, you want the car, you get the expenses. Whether gas is cheap or low, right?
That's not fair. Responsibility? That's not fair.
Yeah. So it was $85 for a 3/4 tank. He was pretty jazzed about that when you're a starving college student.
I bet.
Well, don't drive.
That cuts into the natty light.
That's right. But here's the story. I mean, the story is if you're believing the headlines and you're believing Putin, I mean, there's no inflation from Putin. It's all from the zoo. It is the crazy zoo, whether it's here or there. And this whole thing, like I said, has been blown out of proportion. Whoever they are is trying to get a world war going. And they're failing. Thankfully, India lobbed some missiles at Pakistan. Good thing they missed, because that could have started the whole thing over the weekend.
Wait a second. India and Pakistan, who's the white supremacist pulling those buttons?
Exactly. Go figure that one out and let me know.
Critical race theory in India is a little browner.
But here's the thing. But I want to point this out. Look at both these charts, and then gold, same thing. It was already here. This is where we were, 1900. And I was like, no way this thing's going to the new highs. And it didn't. It failed again. So all you gold bugs that, are playing for the end of the world's not coming to an end this month. We're okay. We've made it through. We're on the other side. Zelensky needs money. He has no army. He's got a bunch of Nazis fighting for him. So good luck. I mean, that's where we are. And now we're
Matt,
back.
when people hear somebody say something like that, especially in this country where the vast amount of uninformed populace is incredible. And we said last week, we brought up the Oliver Stone documentary about the 2014, and I watched it, and it's just incredible. It's incredible how complex the situation is. And you've heard the adage, politics makes strange bedfellows. Well, the Nazi thing is not fake news.
It's not fake news.
It's insane. It's insane when you dive deep.
But this is again,
nuance of the stories there.
This is I'm a history guy. Like, I dig into this stuff. I want the story behind the story. I've never been one to believe headlines of newspapers because they're run by industrialists and people that have stuff they need to sell. So if you don't realize every magazine, every rag that you read is just got a bias, and if you understand it, it helps you to read it a little bit better. But this is not a good thing, Bob. And it's not new either, though. That's the point. And I think that's what we've seen in markets that went up and down in 2 weeks. Price always figures it out quickly, right? It went up there fast and fell off fast. And I'll bring up the bonds for you here, just since you asked me for that. And indeed, the bonds are back here to 152. But again, 152 is the key number. And we're dancing around it. We got down below it last night, 150, 126. I'm looking for a close below 152 on a Friday. Friday is in how many days? 3 days?
Today's 3 days. Tuesday. 3 days. It's still Tuesday. Matt.
We'll see where we are. But again, below this level, Bob, below that 152. And really, we're looking at the same thing. Whether it was gold, oil, or bonds, that little fake BS.
Well, it wasn't a fake. It was people reacting to the risk. And now, as the story becomes clearer, that risk is being taken, it's being reevaluated.
Here, I say fake because the reality is price realizes it was fake. That's why I say it. Okay. So
it's important to clear.
I skip steps in my explanation for sure.
Yes. I want to clarify that.
Yes.
I couldn't agree more.
So whether it's bonds, the world's not coming to an end this month. Oil, bonds. Now we're just back to regular zoo Biden, BAIDAN, zoo Biden. Yeah. Zoo by you.
So the dancing couple is Zoo and Xi.
Yeah.
I'll tumble for you. Matt, I love this one that you shared. Greta, so eloquently and emotionally, you have stolen my dreams and my childhood. Let her spend a day in a cobalt mine. Getting that cobalt for your electric car as fast as I can. Another narrative, Matt, driven by people wanting to make money way more, in my opinion, than they care about the environment. That's just my opinion. Anyway, electric cars, everybody's got to get one because we got $8 gas, but not so fast. The market figures that out also. But Matt, Tesla, I'm going to throw this one at you. We didn't talk about it coming in, and I prefer to do that in price discovery is throw something at you. I know you've looked at it, but maybe not today, maybe not yesterday. Let's look at Tesla because for sure it is the hallmark of EV technology.
Yeah.
And we've talked about a right side in Tesla for a while.
Yeah. I mean, it continues to be right-sided and continues to, motor into this, this wedge that it's in. Nothing new has changed here, Bob. We had broke through it on the downside. We're going to go trade 500. We're going to probably go trade 400, 300, 200. So it's just a matter of when, not if. I mean, nothing's going to save this. Nothing's going to unless you get Kathy Ark and that type of action going, which again is not going to happen tomorrow. We're not in the fall of 21 full market anymore. Again, that's way in the past. You have to adjust to the market that you have today. And we're in a right-sided market until we aren't. And, it's not my opinion. It's the fact that that's where we are. We're in a right-sided market. And yeah, even, this, as we've talked about before, even all this hype about, gold and oil and Greta is not going to help sell more cars for Tesla. Again, $80,000 cars in every garage when, the wages can't afford that doesn't make much sense, but okay.
Not only that, I mean, when you look at
and if you, I actually sent you a little tweet on what it takes to make one EV battery. I mean,
there's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of that.
It's beyond cobalt. It's, there's
exactly
30 things that need hundreds and hundreds of pounds to make one battery. And so, the environmentalist in me is like, what's the difference? We already have oil. It's a lot easier to get out of the ground. And we have combustion engines that have been around 80, 90 years and they work. They're very efficient. And
not only that, what confuses me on this whole topic is how the government for 20, 30 years pushed efficiency metrics. Like you had to make the car, your average fleet had to have certain miles per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, and it was incredibly effective. Emissions, you got to curtail them, incredibly effective. Yeah. And I think they said, you know what, we're not moving towards an EV where we're going to make more money environment fast enough doing this way. So let's just drop those and then see where that takes us.
All right, so this is what I wanted to talk about. So all this talk, Bob, and guess where we are? We're back to new highs on the move today on the 10-year. 2.13 is where we're trading right now. Again, this is real. Interest rates are going higher, yet the Fed still hasn't done one thing. And here we are in March. So they know they're in trouble. The Fed was actually, I think, kind of happy about the fact that the bonds were going through the roof, because then maybe they could raise, but now they missed their window. They should have raised during, when the Putin little 3-week run was happening. Because now the Putin inflation is over. Now we're back to real inflation, the real zoo inflation. The zoo inflation is huge.
Welcome to the zoo.
Welcome to the zoo.
All right, Matt. Thank you, Greta.
So
always,
but
inspiring.
All this being said, Bob, I was looking at the housing index yesterday. We're coming back. Housing is topped.
Hold on, before we go there, because we can talk housing. Same thing. We can talk housing and munis, and that may be a strange thing to talk about. But let me share this. This was from a Facebook post from the Escaping Illinois Facebook group. Last Saturday was the Southside Irish Parade. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Chicago has 2 parades for St. Patty's Day. The Southside Irish Parade, where the SS gathers, them Southside Irishmen. And let me tell you, I've never been because I've always been too afraid. It's such a shit show.
As an Irishman yourself.
As an Irishman myself. I mean, it's like going to Mecca, going to the Chicago Southside Irish Parade, a total shit show. And this past Saturday, they hosted it. And let me read it for you because I have so much fun reading it. Southside Irish Parade. Pritzker got pulled off a float for safety. People started throwing candy at him, then larger items. Like I'm thinking the 16-ounce tall boy Budweiser can.
Right in the head.
Right. And the esteemed Chicago mayor, she only made it from 103rd to 105th Street before she was pulled away. Booing so loud it was feared the crowd would start pelting her with items too. Gotta love the Southside Irish. Report from the Southside Irish Parade. Larry tried to get on the electricians union float and they said no. She forced her way onto the carpenters union float and the booing was so intense she left after only 2 blocks. Man, municipalities, especially the blue ones, have had enough.
Well, it was funny. I was reading an article. It was talking about, the 2nd Street here in Bend, how they just moved out all those people, right?
They're not completely moved out yesterday because I was passing and the first thing I thought of was, I love what you've done with the place.
Spruced it up a little.
Unreal.
Yeah. But they're showing up, they just moved to another area because the city allows it to happen. If you make some laws where you put them in jail, then it's done. I mean, that's what needs to happen. And the article I was reading was talking about these blue cities, LA, San Francisco, et cetera, now who are cracking down on this because it's become such it's killing businesses.
Well, it's going to kill.
It is killing businesses.
We saw Amazon closing their Seattle location, 1,800 employees, 1,800 tax and spenders, right? Gone. See ya. So that has to trickle down to housing, and the price discovery is already showing up in the housing. Bring the chart up. Let's talk housing.
Yeah. Yeah, the interesting thing on the HGX, this is real simple. And I watched The Big Short again, flying home again yesterday. So I'm in the mood to talk about housing. And watching Steve Carell, go through the whole understanding of the, 05, 06 times. But we're in the same thing. And it's not the same mechanisms, right? We don't have dogs coming in and shitting on mortgage papers and getting a loan in their name. Rita could have got a loan in 05.
Rudy actually wasn't at the Humane Society. He was at a closing for his
Rudy
own
was at a
doghouse.
closing today. That's right. He got picked up. And put in doggy jail. But this thing, we got down to 406 just a couple days ago, and then it rallied a little bit, and now it's rolling back over. This is just the HGX Philly Housing Index. Bob, when 400 goes, and really, 355, that was a high. That was really where we were.
Pre-COVID.
We're going to come back and at least test this, right? Things were kind of just cruising along. They went insane during the last 2 summers of COVID. All the rich people that left the blue cities to move to places like Bend jacked up prices everywhere. But that'll come back down again. The thing about real estate, it is so illiquid, it takes longer to blow off and then come down. So we're in the blow off, just like we saw in oil, but it won't play out in 15 days. It'll play off in 15 months or whatever it may be. So I don't see this story having a good ending because of where we are, because of the cost of living going through the roof. There's no way people can buy these houses at these prices today.
Not only that, as rates go up, I mean, it's a simple affordability.
Simple
rates, property taxes. Everything. I lived through the property tax debacle of Lake County, Illinois, and watched my taxes on my home go from $8,000 to $18,000 in 8 years.
And I'm even starting to hear from the perma bullish realtors that, they're starting to be like, because they're hearing word from their bankers. The bankers now are telling them rates are going higher. And, so when the bankers are throwing up the flag, watch out. That means they're not lending, Bob.
All right, man, we talked munis, and that was my first inkling towards price discovery. And we found the Vanguard tax-free municipal bond index, one that neither one of us were familiar with. Can you bring that one up?
I can. Yeah, it's V as in Victor, T as in Thomas, Edward, Boy, VTEB. And this is, it's going to follow the bonds, obviously, and it's paying a dividend right now of 1.7. So you're earning 1.7 tax-free. That goes up as this price goes down, right? So
zoom out so we can see where we've, that is actually fairly far out, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. And the problem, it's a bond, so it doesn't trade in dollar increments and trades in pennies, right? Because the high up here is 55.50, and now we're down here to 51. So, but that's a monstrous move when it comes to interest rates. So again, as interest rates go higher, this will go lower, and that's the relation here. And this saw a low in COVID times of 45. So why wouldn't we test that?
Well, it sure looks like it's heavy on the top, and as long as you stay below that profile, that profile, why wouldn't it?
Yeah, but again, the lower it goes, the more dividends you get paid. So maybe buy some as it goes lower, because you're going to get paid for holding it. At least you get something.
Matt, speaking of ETFs, holy shit, do I hate ETFs? And it's happening again, I am told. And if I can, I'm not sure I added the source. Hold on a second. Let me find it. There it is. I got it. I got it. He's got it. Hey, everybody's got it. Whoa. What advisors need to know about Barclays suspending the VXX and OIL ETFs, Matt? This happened on the downside when oil went to -40. I partook in that one and thought I was going to really have a 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 bagger until they said, you know what, we're just going to close ETF. You're all out of money.
Yeah, I brought up the VXX. So they paused this for what a day or something. And, it's because they got caught not being long enough. So, it gives them a day to restructure their book. And then today it's back open. I don't really understand it. I'm not following the story that closely, but here we are today. That thing rocketed up to 41 and trading 34. So this is pretty crazy, Bob. This is short-term futures on the VIX, basically, and not futures, but it's a ETN that trades on the VXX, right? So again, if you're going to trade this stuff, trade the VX futures. Stay away from the, especially. I always tell people, like, if you can trade oil, trade oil. I mean, it doesn't take much money to trade it. So if you want to be
especially
involved,
now with the micros,
yeah,
and these ETFs, they charge you a fee. They're getting paid every year, no matter what.
Yeah, you're just getting bled out
for managing the ETF. All right, Matt. Last but certainly not least. Hold on a second. We got to chat. End the Fed. Very good, Lee. Very good. It should stand for End the Fed. Matt, I know that this had to just make you sing. And that was this. This is from Nikki Rushing. Thank you, Nikki. Tom Brady spent 2 months with his children and decided he'd rather be hit by 300-pound linemen. I think this tells me everything I need to know about having kids. The great GOAT
actually, how I saw it was another great chance for people that hate Tom Brady to hate Tom Brady. I mean,
for sure. For sure there's that. He's unfinished business. He said, let's just be honest, though. At some point, your 40, whatever it is, year old body getting hit by a 22-year-old body, at some point, Matt, that becomes a problem. At some point.
At some point.
I mean, what are the odds that he makes it through the season without getting injured? I mean, that's the bet I would take. I would take that he gets busted in half here. The longer you sit there with these young men, and man, I was watching, let me just tell you something. These kids are bigger, faster, stronger than ever.
Yeah.
Right. And so at some point he gets busted in half. Maybe and the problem in professional football, if he gets ear holed, maybe he eats from a straw for the rest of his life. Maybe you should just enjoy your kids. I mean, it's a legitimate concern.
Well,
I was watching the Bulls game last night, the first NBA game I've watched in probably a decade.
Right.
Full start to finish.
Yep.
These guys are, I mean, I got to tell you, how good do you think Jordan would be against these 6'9" guys that can shoot a three from near half court? It's unbelievable how far out they shoot the three now.
He wouldn't. He couldn't compete with them. But again, that's his time. You can't compare. You also can't compare Bill Russell in his time to Michael Jordan in his time.
I still think Bill Russell is dominant down low, though.
I agree. He would.
I just think that 6'6" guard now having to face a 6'9" guard, and they're all. It's unbelievable how many.
Well, I went to watch some games this weekend, and the young freshman 6'8" guard. He's good.
Unreal. All right, Matt.
Doesn't matter where they are.
I have anything else except
we need to talk about the only program to send.
No, we don't. I gave you your Michigan. It's right there. Tom Brady.
We're going to talk about it right here. The only program to send somebody to the college football championship, to the women's bracket and to the men's basketball bracket is you got
And
it.
they'll go to the hockey bracket.
Well, the
too.
hockey is playing Big Ten. Well, the tournament, they're surely in. So, yes, they're in there also. But they're playing for the final against the Minnesota Gophers for the Big Ten this Saturday night. Watch that one. That's going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah,
Michigan versus Minnesota
For
for the Big
Ten.
Big
The
Ten
stock
championship.
market is particularly volatile. Again, narrative driven. Peace, ceasefire, no
Low volume,
ceasefire.
low volume the last couple of days, really low volume. We need another event to get it moving again. Yesterday was Pi Day, which Marty had as a big turning point day. I don't know. We hit a new low yesterday in the Nasdaq, so there's that. But I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that that's the low. I think we're going to still go see 12.8. That's a key level on the fib, not on the fib, but on the profile. That's the next real support since we went through 13,000. Matter of fact, I was bidding down there last night at 12.8, but we got down to 12.942 was the low. Yeah, this market, it's not healthy, and I don't see it getting healthier. And we're not that oversold. It's kind of a controlled sell-off that we continue to be in for this first quarter. I don't know what you think, but that's kind of what I see. 16.9 down to
Here's my thought, and we've talked about it.
The zoo market went red finally, but now it's barely green right here, but it went red.
Right, we're halfway through the month, and still on that monthly, Matt, we don't have downward sloping bands, and I don't care what time frame you look at if you're a standard deviation trader.
Right.
Slope matters. The slope matters. And we've gone 13 years up. And so if we get a negative close here in March, if the next half of the month performs like the first half of the month, it's going to change the slope of the standard deviation modeling. And believe me, that's going to be important for the rest of the year.
Here's where I see it. I see it in these names that, like GameStop finally getting back down, right? I mean, it traded back to $40 after that spike to $4.50 or whatever it was, right? And then it's been hanging up there for, the last year again still. Like now you're starting to see these people, because we're below all, we're going to come back to $20 because there is no business model at GameStop. It's all garbage. It's all noise. So, and then Crocs, same thing, 79.45, another new low on the move there. So you're starting to see the junk continue to sell, even though it's low. Well, it was really high, right? These things were insane. So they've got to come off, and then you see the other one that I thought was interesting, Bob, when we've talked about is DraftKings. I mean, this thing's $15, $15, still a $6.3 billion market cap, but this, I think, starts to this is what I'm talking about. Like it's relentless. There's no buyers at any price.
I actually have a little inside knowledge on DraftKings and there is where's the growth here possible in DraftKings? And unless they did something, especially because they're competing with long established gambling companies that have a brick and mortar destination.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I just spent a weekend in Vegas and the sports books were quiet and the games were going on. It was a great place to watch a game, but there was because people can get on an app, whether it's Caesars, MGM, whatever, they can sit at home and place their bets. They don't need to go run and have a runner go place a bet for them anymore. Anybody can place a bet and thousands of dollars online on their apps. And so they're still getting into business. So that might be good. But there's, again, to your point, there's so much competition. Every freaking casino, little, big, small, medium, they all have a book. I mean, if you're only placing your $5 better, you just need one. I mean, even if you're a $100,000 player, you might need 4 apps, but you can go to the 4 apps and place your bet. This is the thing. Like it's just like stocks. Like your stockbroker is gone because you don't need them. You also don't need the front of the house. You don't need this big retail environment anymore to place your bets. You can do it from most states.
Just like GameStop, the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, but so my point was with DraftKings, there's no vision for how to get out of this trap for them. right? Because they know the competition is going to be there and be relentless.
Right.
Yet they don't really have a vision that I can see or that they've talked about.
Yep.
To morph into something more than your fantasy league that they're going to. And by the way, they make way more on their gaming, online craps, online blackjack.
Oh, well, yeah. And then they have, now they have these like multiple, like, it's weird. They have like tables that you can play blackjack against 100 people now. So it's weird.
I have one of the best blackjack stories ever. Mr. Trotta, I went to college with, great New Yorker from Long Island, sits down at the blackjack table with my buddy, and he's hitting everything. And he's winning. He's making money, but he's hitting 17, 18 all the time.
He's effing the rest of the table is what he's doing.
And so my buddy says, Trotta, what are you doing? Why are you hitting 18? The dealer's got a 6. He's probably got 16. You already got him beat. And Trotta says, I thought I had to beat everybody at the table.
That's the way they play at home.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Different game.
All right, Matt.
I have one more thing on this subject of higher interest rates. The dollar, by the way, hit another new high. Okay. So yesterday it hit 99.49. And I'm just going to keep saying bullish. You want bullish things. The dollar still is the reserve world currency, regardless.
They can do whatever
regardless
they want.
of Putin, Trudeau, Zoo, regardless of this, the market is telling you a story here. Interest rates are going higher. The dollar is going higher. I can't reiterate this story any harder for you. The dollar is going higher. Gold is going lower. That's the way it's going to be until it's done.
Rates are going higher, and the stock market is going to be volatile on a lower trajectory as far as I can tell. Like this rip your face off 600-point rally that the Nasdaq had today from the lows.
Not quite.
500 point.
450.
Right there, ding, ding, ding on the expected range, though. All right, Matt, please, not Matt, please. All you out there, please share, retweet, plagiarize the broadcast. Visit us at marketvitals.io where you can get the sheet. You can join Matt's private Nasdaq group for the call. And just a community of active traders looking for a layer of discipline. Forget the whispers. Trust the numbers, man.
Trust them. Trust reality.
The numbers.
The reality.
Thank you, Lee.
Good to be back.
Thank you, Matt.
Good to be back, Bobby.
Right on.